Section 3, Implementing Procedures. Implementing procedures. Personal key infrastructure operating under purview of the Department of Defense, DoD, unclassified public key infrastructure, DoD external control certificate authority, public key infrastructure, U.S. coalition public key infrastructure, DoD, NSS public key infrastructure, proof of the use intended for the purpose of the environment, the DoD unclassified public key infrastructure department, and department and intelligence security agency with the DoD public key infrastructure public management officer must supplement DoD unclassified public key infrastructure and to satisfy operational needs and requirement national internet protocol network, otherwise unclassified networks. DoD unclassified public key infrastructure must make the public keys available to DoD mission partners who have access to unclassified DoD network certificate issuance. DoD unclassified public key infrastructure issues certificate also subscribe and identify with the DoD X509 certificate practice support DoD mission business operation. DoD unclassified public key infrastructure may issue the different public key types of public key infrastructure certificates to satisfy with the DoD component requirements, including identity authentication certificate, signature, encryption, group, and role device and code signing, certificate validation, DoD unclassified public key infrastructure, provides certificate revocation data of the CRL, publication of the robust certificate validation services of the robust certificate validation service of the DoD public key infrastructure online certificate status protocol responder infrastructure, key recovery, the DoD unclassified public key infrastructure support first and third party key recovery for private key associated with DoD public key infrastructure certificate, DoD unclassified network, hardware credentials, public key infrastructure, hardware credentials used in access DoD unclassified resource must comply requirements of their certificate practices will meet the requirements of authenticator assurance level 3, common access cards, implemented according to the Homeland Security Presidential Directive 12 and NIST FIPS, publication 201, personal identifiable verification credential of the primary personal key infrastructure, hardware credential identification authentication, federal employees and contractors, federal facilities, unclassified federal network and system in accordance with Department of Defense Instruction 1013 Common Access Card of the personal identifiable verification primary public key infrastructure hardware credential for identifying authentication. DoD employee, DoD contractors who have provision with the division, DoD network accounts of the National Internet Protocol Network, otherwise unclassified DoD network resource common access card protects private key associated authentication signature encryption certificate. The DoD public key infrastructure issues the for use unclassified information. DoD personal information system must rely on a public key infrastructure certificate issued maintained on common access cards. Alternate tokens of the NEATS issues the type of the DoD hardware public key infrastructure credential unclassified networks or systems does not conform with federal requirements of the personal identifiable verification. Alternate tokens must be either broad replacement for common access cards or alternate tokens authorized specific situations where common access cards not used due to technical policy reasons. Situations include but not limited to IT privileged user accounts, IT privileged users, alternate tokens, authentication privileged user accounts, pursuant technical attachment under United States Cyber Command Tasking Order 140018 and information technology privilege users domain enterprise administrator accounts requirement smart card login. Most of the different alternate tokens, these accounts with the alternate tokens access system administrative accounts, Department of Defense component may issue multiple alternate tokens issuing information technology privilege user of the purpose. If the resource device system question cannot support authentication public key infrastructure technology information technology privilege user must follow procedures according to the Department of Defense Instruction 85-2003. The role of the Watcher Officer account of the Department of Defense organization may issue alternate tokens. Individual will require access to the role of the Watcher Officer of the accounts as part of their duty. The organization must have sign-in, sign-out procedure for individuals that report with their position. Only an individual may have the use of the alternate token at a time. No circumstance must individuals have access to use the role Watch Officers alternate tokens simultaneously. User General Officer, Flag Officer, Senior Executive Services, and GO and FO Senior Executive Services staff accounts. General general officer, flag officer, senior executive service staff accounts, issuance all tokens, authorized U.S. general officer, flag officer, senior executive services, personal staff may in accordance with implementing procedure restriction appendix 3A. Hardware security module. The Department of Defense may issue the public key infrastructure hardware certificate, hardware security module validated meeting requirement level 2 above the NISP FIPS and publication 140 or 3 other form of factors. Permit chief with information officer may also approve of the public key infrastructure hardware credentials other than the common access call limited tokens facility with the DoD mission case basis software certificate. All unclassified public key infrastructure software certificates used with the DoD unclassified resource must be complied with requirements respect with the certificate practices. Security certificates of the NPE, public software certificates primarily intended with identifying authenticating NPE server the system with another network component devices, all of the DoD web server that require the DoD approve of the NPE public key infrastructure certificate, initiate transport layers, security server, authentication support data, integrity, maintaining credential, confidentiality. Software certificates of personal identity. The Department of Defense Instruction 85-2003 outlines specific use and situation requirements wherever the user may authenticate the Department of Defense Information Technology Requirement Public Key Infrastructure Certificates, WOD Public Key Infrastructure Software Certificates. We would not issue combined communication electronic board user to support authentication unclassified DoD networks, mobilization public key infrastructure, purebred mobile public key infrastructure solution currently the only DoD approved capability of deploying DoD unclassified mobile public key infrastructure credentials, DoD unclassified mobile endpoints for the DoD chief of the information officer approve of the mobile public key infrastructure credentials and essentials, or separate guidance. DoD public key infrastructure credentials be issued only with request for processing possessing valid DoD public key infrastructure hardware credential, common access card, or alternate token, and request for verification must be performed. Public key infrastructure authentication. Identifying the possessor asserting the same common name of the DoD public key infrastructure of the DoD public key infrastructure hardware credential to be issued the use of the store of the management claim of the DoD December 20th, 2009 Department of Defense Chief Information Officer Memorandum. The NPE certificate DoD component of their system owned for the install of the NPE public key infrastructure certificate on the unclassified DoD Internet Protocol enabled devices, web server with the network devices such for the domain control of the routers for the mobile phones, internet things of the devices to support authentication. NPE certificates may also be issued with the robotic process augmentation artificial intelligence of the NPE forms actions both on the behalf of the individual's organization depending on the specific unit of the NPE with the personal key infrastructure certificate issued with the unclassified by the Department of Defense NPE the use of these public key infrastructure for the DoD unclassified public key infrastructures. The NPE certificate DoD unclassified public key infrastructure issue must be installed with an unclassified system device regularly accessed for the use of the DoD components submission with the partner with the not play public facing the NPE with the public key infrastructure certificate unclassified public key infrastructure issued must align with the certificate process OID and the DoD unclassified public key infrastructure certificate process public key infrastructure certificate issued the DoD public key infrastructure NPE portal may not be used or certificate. Only locally trusted unclassified public key infrastructure support DoD components owned and operated with their own internal unclassified public key infrastructure OLT public key infrastructure or only locally trusted unclassified public key infrastructure purpose of the public unclassified DoD network system of the only locally trusted public key infrastructure not aligned with the certificate practice of the OID with the DoD unclassified public key infrastructure certificate practices and not authorized issue the public key infrastructure certificate credential of a person. DoD component only locally trusted public key infrastructure approved with the issue with an NEP public key infrastructure certificate unclassified DoD with non-NPE provided with the certificate issued with a system device. Certificate uses a bound individual of the local DoD component network of the only locally trusted public key infrastructure NPE located with the relying party of the DoD component do not regulate with the system of the device. Authorized disclosure, loss, confidentiality, modification, loss, integrity with the information on the system of the device that have highly impact potential pursuant to the NISP FIS Publication 199. Commercial unclassified public key infrastructure. The component system of the owners may install with a transparent layer certificate the NPE public key infrastructure certificate issued with the commercial public key infrastructure and classified the DoD website mobile device management system enterprise email message security gateway mail server provided with the condition paragraph 31A4C15 of the DoD website EEM the enterprise email message security gateway mail server must be public facing when the public facing requirements put out Apple the MDM or the mobile device management Management Systems, Department of Defense Mobile Device Management Systems, and the Enterprise Email Message Security Gateway mail server that is hosted on the Defense Information System network that must be hosted appropriately isolated network segment or the DoD demilitarized zone. If the DoD website of the Mobile Device Management System and the Enterprise Email Message Security Gateway servers operate in Gov or Mil top-level domain space, so the commercial public key infrastructure certificate must meet with the criteria for the domain validation. The commercial of the MPE public key infrastructure certificate use the secure hash algorithm 256 over the stronger of the hash algorithm that issue with the secure hash algorithm 256 stronger root certificate authority. A commercial of the MPE public key infrastructure certificate issue with either vendor or also with the operator of the DoD approved the external of the public key infrastructure listed on the DoD Cyber Exchange public key infrastructure interoperability website CyberMail PK public key infrastructure public key enabling interoperability or vendor that issue with the external certificate authority vendor listed with the DoD Cyber Exchange external certificate authority website CyberMail external cyber authority. External Certificate Authority, Unclassified Federal Public Trust Public Key Information, DoD Working General Service Administration running Federal Public Key Infrastructure to develop the Federal Public Trust Public Key Infrastructure anticipated most widely used the commercial web browser operating system mail service will trust the Federal Public Key Infrastructure fully operational DoD components with the Public Key Infrastructure Certificate in accordance with the paragraph 31A4C with the most transition certificate Federal Public Trust Public Key Infrastructure issues as previously obtained when the commercial public key infrastructure certificate expires. Code signature certificate DoD component system owners of the must certify code of the website public key infrastructure code signing certificate depending on the specific use of the key of the DoD component system owner of the use of the code signing certificate from public key infrastructure listed in paragraph 3A5AB to certificate code unclassified DoD website. Commercial public key infrastructure DoD component system owners may use code signed public key infrastructure certificate that commercial public key infrastructure issue the certificate code unclassified DoD website provided condition paragraph 31A5A1 through 5 are met. The DoD website public facing the DoD website hosted Defense Information System network that must be hosted in an appropriately isolated network 7 the DoD demilitarized zone. If the DoD website operates in Gov the Mil top level domain space with the certificate public key infrastructure certificate must meet criteria for the domain validation. The commercial public key infrastructure certificate secure hash algorithm 256 over the stronger hash algorithm issue with the secure hash algorithm 256 stronger certificate authority. Commercial public key infrastructure certificate issue with either vendor or the operative of the Department of Defense approved the external public key information listed of the DoD Cyber Exchange public key interoperability website with the CyberMail with the public key infrastructure public key enabling interoperability or vendor with it is also external certificate authority vendor listed on the DoD Cyber Exchange external certificate authority website CyberMail external security external certificate authority. DoD unclassified public key information, all coded public key information, public key infrastructure certificate unclassified DoD website means for these criteria with the paragraph 31A4C with the commercial issuance must be issued with the DoD unclassified public key infrastructure trusted platform modules. Public key infrastructure certificate meet with the requirements of AAL2 or software public key infrastructure issued with the unclassified device working station level trusted platform module that have been validated to NIST publication 143 security level 1 or above. Public key infrastructure certificate meeting requirements of AAL3 hardware public key infrastructure may be issued on classified devices workstation leverage trusting platform modules validated in NIST FIPS publication 143 security level 2 or above. The WCF public key information certificate authority used to facilitate WCF the DoD unclassified network boundary must be operated in accordance with WCF X509 certificate practice. The DoD NSS Public Key Information Infrastructure Public Key Infrastructure Operation the Defensive Information Security Agency as part of the DoD Public Key Information Program Management Office to implement the DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure satisfy operational needs and requirements of secret Internet Protocol Network, DoD Secret Fabric Networks. DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure must make public keys available to DoD mission partners who have been granted access to DoD Secret Fabric Networks. certificate issuance of the DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure issued certificate designated subscribers in accordance with the CNSSD 506, CNSS P25, CNSSI 1300 support DoD mission. DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure may issue a different type of public key infrastructure certificate satisfied with the DoD component requirements, include with identification, authentication, and signature encryption group and enroll device code signing signature certificates. Certificate revocation. DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure provides certification revocation due to the CRL publication of the robust certificate validation services. Key recovery. The DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure support first and third party key recovery. Private keys associated with the DoD Public Key Infrastructure encryption certificate. DoD Security Fabric Networks robust certificate validation services with the DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure online certificate status protocol responder infrastructure hardware certificates. All public key infrastructure credentials that access the DoD secure fabrics of the resource comply with the respective certificate practice with the DoD NSI public key infrastructure hardware credential protect private keys associated identifying with the authentication signature encryption certificate of the DoD NSS public key infrastructure issues using secret fabric environments according with the CNSSD 506, CNSS P25, and CNSSI 1300 DoD NSS public key infrastructure hardware credentials may be issued individual subscriber credentials. According to the CNS SSB 25, the NSS Public Key Infrastructure Hardware Credential, Primary Public Key Infrastructure Hardware Credential, Authentication, U.S. Government Department Agency, Employment of Contractor, Federal Security Fabric Network System, DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure Hardware Credentials, with the Primary Public Key Infrastructure Hardware Credential, Authentication, DoD Employee with the DoD Control Contractors, you have Provision DoD Network accounts of secret Internet Protocol networks and other DoD Secret Fabric Network resources. Credential fulfills similar functions on DoD Secret Fabric Networks as common access card unclassified DoD networks that contain the public key infrastructure certificate facilitate authentication, digital signature, email encryption. DoD personal relying partners on the relying public key infrastructure certificate issued to maintain with the DoD and NSA public key infrastructure hardware credential. All DoD NSS public key infrastructure credentials issued assurance levels appropriate to the given system of user community approved with the exception of the DoD relying parties of the issue of the DoD other federal executive branches, department, and agency. Credentials, the CCEB Foreign Nation National Defense and Personal Exchange Program, the DoD component of the DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure Hardware Credentials, CCEB Foreign Nations, hosted by the Department of Defense Personal Exchange Program, purpose of the authentication. CCEB releases DoD Secret Fabric resources. When facilitating access, CCEB Foreign Nations, CCEB releases DoD Secret Fabric resource. The DoD components must comply access implement requirements. Foreign Nation, the Department of Directive 523011, 523020, Department of Defense Instruction 5530-3-8500-01, Applicable Defense and Intelligence Security Agency Security Technical Information Guide, DISA, Releasability Embedded Local Area Network Security Technical Information Guide Overview. DoD components must not issue DoD NSS Public Key Information Infrastructure Credentials, CCEB, Foreign Nations who Foreign Liaison, Cooperative Program Personnel, Special Purpose DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure credentials. DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure Hardware credentials can be configured special purpose similar alternate tokens used on classified DoD network. Special purposes include but are not limited to information technology privileged user accounts, administration 1 credentials. DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure Hardware credentials and information technology privilege will have only public key infrastructure authentication certificate. They're used to authenticate DoD secret technology information technology privilege user counters. Role watchers and officers account. DoD organization may issue special purpose DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure credential individual using request as role to watch officer account. Part of duties organization must have sign in sign out procedures. Individuals may report the position only when an individual may have the use of the special purpose DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure credential at time. No circumstances must multiply individual access role with watch officer with special purpose DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure credential simultaneously. U.S. General Officer, Flag Officer, Senior Executive Service, General Officer, Field Officer, Senior Executive Service, staff accounts issued with a special purpose of DoD, NSS, public key infrastructure credentials, authorized U.S. General Officer, Field Officer, Senior Executive Services personnel on their staff must be equivalent with implementing procedure restrictions in Appendix 3A. Software certificates, all of the personal key information infrastructure software certificates used with the DoD secret fabricate resource must comply with requirements with respect with the certificate practice. Software certificates, NPE, the public key infrastructure software certificates primarily and typically identified with the authentication NPE with the serverless system and the other network component devices of the DoD secret fabric web server of the DoD approved with the NPE with the public key infrastructure certificate initiated with the transport layer security server the authentication support data integrity maintain confidentiality software certificate personality with the Department of Defense Instruction 85-2003 outlines specific with the situation and requirements for the use of the authenticate with the Department of Defense Information Technology requirements resource for the public key infrastructure software certificate, mobile public key infrastructure solutions, public key infrastructure credential of the DoD secret fabric module endpoints, U.S. National Information Assurance Partnership approved solutions, National NPE certificates, DoD component system with the install of the NPE public key infrastructure, all of the DoD secret fabric internet protocol enabled devices, web server the network devices, just domain control of the router of mobile phones, internet things of the devices to sort authentication. NPE certificates may be issued with the robotic process augmentation, artificial intelligence over the NPE performance action on an individual organization, depending on specific use of the NPE public key infrastructure certificate, use of the Department of Defense secret fabric, NPE with the use of the public key infrastructure. DoD NSS PKI, the DoD Component System Operation, solely the NPE certificate issued. DoD NSS PKI's DoD Secret Fabric System with device regular accessibility by the use of the other DoD components outside of the Department of Defense. Only local OLTs, DO components own and operate the OLT PKI instruction DoD Secret Fabric Networks OLT own PKIs do not line certificate OIDs NSS PKI CPs authorized PKI certificate credentials to personnel of the DoD component. Only local T approved of the National PKI certificate DoD Secret Fabric Systems device provided. The OLT Public Key Infrastructure means requirement of DoD Secret Fabric OLTP Public Key Infrastructure of the CNSD 506 certificate issued to the system that describes subscribers pursuant to the CNS SI 1300 certificate U with a bound individual local DoD component number where the NP OLT certificate authority and NPA are located at PMA approved of the public key infrastructure per CNSD 506 NSSP Public Key Infrastructure PMA, authorized operational department of the agency, internal secret fabric, public key infrastructure of the NSA Public Key Infrastructure Design League Guidelines, NPE, OLT Public Key Infrastructure, per SSI 1300 PMA, and it says Public Key Infrastructure DINRSA CHSEC. Code signing certificate. DoD component system owners may certify code secret fabric website public key infrastructure code signing certificate of the DoD secret fabric website resource of the DoD component system owners may only use a code signing fabric certificate issued with the DoD NSS public key infrastructure certificate code. Alright, trusted platforms. DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure, with me, AAL2 software public key infrastructure may issue the workstation leveraging trusted platform module with the NIST FIPS publication 143. Security level above the DoD NSS Public Key Infrastructure change certificates may with the requirement of AAL3 hardware public key infrastructure may be issued with the device workstation. Leveraging trusted platform module in NIST FIPS publication 143, security level 3 above. WCF public key infrastructure certificate authority facilitate web content DoD secret fabric network boundary must be operated in accordance with WCF X 509 security and performance. External public key infrastructure for the DoD public key infrastructure public key certificate DoD mission partner with external public key infrastructure external certificate authority public key infrastructure mission partner commercial vendors operate DoD information system must rely on externally Only external public key infrastructure DoD Chief of the Information Officer approved the DoD approval process. Mission approved public key infrastructure cannot be found in Appendix 3 of the DoD approved the public key infrastructure certificate. U of the authentication DoD website application digital sign of the email. The documentation encrypted email. Defense of Intelligence Security Agency maintains a repository of the DoD approved the external of the public key infrastructure cyber mail with the public key infrastructure public key enabled interoperability question and POW. DoD external public key infrastructure approval process shall be submitted to OSD with the BMC Alex DoD CIO MBX ICM mail.mil. External Security Authority DoD must maintain the DoD Unclassified External Security Authority Public Key Infrastructure Program according with the EXCA X509 Certificate Proactive Support Certificate issued with the DoD Mission Department including CCEB partners. Other foreign partner forms to all use of the DoD Unclassified Network such as the National Internet Protocol Network. CCEB partners may be issued External Certificate Authority Certificate only on a medium token insurance or above. The External Security Authority Public Key Infrastructure Program must make it the public keys available to DoD mission partners, unclassified networks. External Security Authority may be used with the unclassified network, not only with unclassified networks. For more information, External Security Authority X509 CP will require the NSA to operate external security a route with security authority. The Defense of Information Defense of Intelligence Security Agency maintain repository DoD External Security Authority information concurrent with the repository CyberMail ACA. Issuing of the DoD External Security Authority Personal Key Infrastructure Certificate according with the DoD External Security Authority X509 Security Practices. To be approved with the Department of Unclassified Networks over the approval level is shown the external security level assurance of the medium token, medium hardware, external security, medium certificate, software, public key information certificate should be given the encryption NPV certificate EC, a medium token, medium hardware assurance of the public key infrastructure certificate, hardware, public key infrastructure credentials, and 10 with a personal entity with identifying with the proof of the requirement, external security authority with a medium token, insurance with a medium hardware assurance with a public key infrastructure credentials vary based on the requested location. Within the United States, identifying proof of the External Security Authority medium token credentials must be done over the person of the notary, third-party trusted agent, External Security Authority vendor, with the External Security Authority vendor themselves with identifying with the proof of the External Security Authority medium hardware credentials must be done in person with third-party with the TA with the External Security vendor with the ECDA vendor themselves cannot be done by the notary. Outside of the United States, identifying with the notary and identifying proof of the External Security Authority medium token insured with a medium hardware assured with the credentials must be done with the person with the authorized DoD employee. External Security Authority, external liaison officer to maintain the list of authorized DoD employees. Individuals needed with the DoD employee must coordinate with the External Security Authority external liaison officer to assist locating authorized DoD employee in a specified country. Okay, mission partner with the commercial vendor, public key infrastructure mission partner, commercial with the vendor of the public key infrastructure, operating external with the DoD with the issue with the public key infrastructure, serve with the DoD mission partner, user of the DoD chief of the information officer, oversight of the facility with approval of the public key infrastructure, described in Appendix 3B, validating external with the public key infrastructure of the DoD, relying part of the must accept with the DoD approved external hardware public key infrastructure from the DoD mission part with the legitimate with the need of the DoD information on their system, DoD relying partners must validate public key infrastructure certificate, either the DoD with approval external with the public key infrastructure with the using the cross certification mechanism, the direct trust mechanism of the DoD relying parties can facilitate direct trust with the DoD approval external with the public key infrastructure, developing public key infrastructure trust chains associated external with the public key infrastructure with the previously maintained with the repository DoD relying parties must check with the revocation status of the public key infrastructure certificate issued by the Department of Defense approval of the external with the public key infrastructure before accepting them using coalition public key infrastructure with DoD EA with the MPE with the U.S. coalition over the public key infrastructure satisfy operational needs requirement of the MPE networks of the U.S. coalition public key infrastructure must make public keys available to the DoD mission partners over the grant access of the DoD MPE networks over the DoD MPE with a periodically the coalition public key infrastructure stronger public key based cryptologic algorithm hashing encryption quantum resistant algorithm associated key set of the parameters of the DoD security and operable needs. or a certificate issued with the U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure with a certificate designated with the U.S. Coalition X509 certificate practice with the support of the DoD mission of the U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure may issue with a different type of public key infrastructure certificate. Same with the DoD component requirement, including identifying with the authentication signature encryption group role of the device and code signing certificate. Certificate restriction: U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure may use the authentication access with the networks of the DoD MP with the U.S. Coalition Public Key Information Problem with the DoD Public Key Information may not be used to authenticate gain access to the National Internet Protocol, Secret Internet Protocol, Defense Research Engineering Network, Secret Defense Research Engineering Network, any other DoD network system information outside of the MPE. Certificate revocation: the Coalition Public Key Information Certificate revocation data with the CRL publication robust certification validation services key recovery. The U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure support for the key recovers the private keys associated with the U.S. Coalition Public Key Encryption Certificate networks of the DoD MPE. Alright, special purpose U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure Credentials. U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure Credentials can be figured in special purpose. Special purpose include but not limited information technology privileged user account administrative credential with user Coalition Public Key Infrastructure hardware technology IT and provided users have the Public Key Infrastructure Authentication Certificate with the Authentication DoD MPE information technology privileged user accounts. Roller and watch officer with the account with the DoD organization may issue special purpose U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure credential that individual requires access to the role watch offers account as part of the duties of the organization will sign and sign out with the procedure for the individual with a report on to their position. Only the individual may have the use special purpose U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure credential at one time. Under no circumstance may multiple individuals have access to the role of the watcher officer with a special purpose of U.S. Coalition Public Key Infrastructure credential simultaneously. Software certificates: all public key infrastructure software certificates with the DoD MPE resources must comply with the requirements with respect to certificate practices. Software specific to MPE with a public key infrastructure software certificate into the family with identify with the authentication and with the server of the system of the other network component device of all the DoD MPE with web servers. Recover the DoD with the MPE with a public key infrastructure certificate. Initial the transport layer security server with the authentication support of the data integrity with a maintained credential. Confidentiality. Software credential certificate personal ID with the DoD instruction 852003 that outlines specific either the case and situation requirements where user may authenticate DoD information technology public key infrastructure software certificates. The MPE certificate DoD component system all owners must install the MPE via public key infrastructure with all of the DoD MPE with the internet protocol enable the device web server the network device the main control of the route of mobile phones internet things with the device to support authentication. MPE certificates issued with the robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, or the MPE, the performance action behind of the individual organization. Code signing certificate DoD component system owner certified DoD MP websites with PKI. Code signing certificates DoD MPB websites and research with the DoD component system owners review the code signing certificates issued with the U.S. component coalition public key information infrastructure. Trusted platform modules U.S. coalition public key infrastructure certificate meet with the requirements of AAL2 software public key infrastructure may be issued with the device workstation leverage trusted platform modules validated in IST FIPS publication 143 security level 1 or above. 3.2 Public Key Enabling Authentication DoD Instruction 852003 establishes implement policies and proceed with the DoD approve the public key information over the approve the technology authentication Department of Defense networks and information systems to with the access of the DoD resource for more information public key enabling cyber mail public key infrastructure public key enabling digital signature disclosed coordinated with the DoD public key infrastructure certificate third party necessarily to support validating DoD public key and infrastructure based on the digital signature email documentation coordinating with disclosure information confirmed the DoD public key information certificate including signer's name and the email address DoD issuance electronic data entry personal identifier is not a breach of personal identifiable information with the Department of Defense instruction 1030 volume 2 DoD manual 5411 public key infrastructure certificate may create with a digital signature support multiple purposes included not limited to document signature. Comes from January 25, 2013, GSA Federal CIO Council Guidance Electronic Signature Equivalent Hard Written Signature can encompass all of the methods of technology one sign with electronic record all signature use. DoD system business and transaction must comply electronic signature requirement of Office of Management Budget Circular 8130 January 25th 2013 DSA Federal Chief of the Information Office of the Council Guidelines signature subset with electronic signature use of public key cryptographic public infrastructure implementation digital signature important enable the tool to federal laws with implement the correctable digital signature to demonstrate superiority integrity service authentication and repetition over the other forms of electronic signature access to the DoD component system owners may review the access to incorporating a digital signature capability improve the information security efficiency effectiveness of the process and transaction. When the digital signatures are used with the DoD system of the business and transaction must be generated with the DoD approved with the public key infrastructure certificates comply with electronic signature requirements of Office of Management Budget 8130 January 25th 2013 GSA Federal Chief of the Information Office of Council Guidance agreements with commercial vendors the Department of Defense Chief of Information Office of Management Level agreement with commercial vendors trust except with the DoD unclassified public key information structure certificate commercial vendors digital signature products and services email signature public key infrastructure use of digital signature email with the email recipient can confirm email is not altered in transition tagged and integrity reliability authenticating the sender support technical non-repetition email digital signature proceed with the DoD component with develop maintain email digital signature proceed with help facility implement the DoD digital signature email requirements capability DoD components make a video DoD email system application DoD unclassified secret fabric networks to be able to send with the receiver digital signed email DoD email systems application must invalidate digital signatures DoD approved external public key information infrastructure email filters any other function email content protections must not because email signature become an invalid email external senders default settings the default setting workstation configured on digital signing outgoing emails permit user flexibility sign unsigned email case-to-case basis user action DoD usually digitally signed DoD email with the DoD approved public key infrastructure credential. The emails contain attachment embedded hyperlinks, website addresses. However, some of the information controlled with unclassified information official of the DoD business, such as memory on the travel related contractual budget, perform program financial proprietary information, other than information requiring data integrity, message worth authentication, non-repetition, encryption, public key infrastructure may be used to support encryption data with multiple purposes included but not limited to email encryption email public key infrastructure provider user with confidence with the email sent and received that has not been read by third party in transit confidential. The DoD components must either develop to maintain email encryption procedure for the help facility implement DoD encryption requirements for email capability of the Department of Defense email system with the DoD unclassified secret fabric networks included with a mobile device supporting sending and receiving the emails encrypted with the DoD approved public key infrastructure certificates medium instrument of the software public key infrastructure certificate used and by DoD approved public key infrastructure may be the accepted purpose of the email encryption, but not for digital signatures. See the DoD instruction 852003 of the identification of authentication requirements. User actions DoD user must use the technical feasible encrypted email attachments to contain the controlled unclassified information classified unclassified DoD network. See the DoD instruction 5248 for more information controlled unclassified information. For only DoD approved with the public key infrastructure use the certificate encrypted emails either email authentication with email encryption used for the certificates made by the medium insurance software certificate issued with the DoD approved with the public key infrastructures. In Appendix 3A, criteria for the issuing alternative tokens to general officers and field officer for the senior executive service with the designates in their designated staff. So that was part 3, and then we'll move on to the appendixes.